I'd like to introduce first Elisabeth Charles from Petco. How are you, my dear? And also, I want to introduce James O'Reilly from Sonic.
Are you going to be sitting?
No, I'm sitting over here.
Okay.
All right, James.
Hey, Pete.
Stuff. And finally, the man, the myth, David Fischette from Go West. How are you, Governor?
Yeah, man. Pick up the pieces.
That's right. All right, so let's get started, the conversation. Elisabeth, let's start with you. Why don't you just share with the group kind of the challenges you were trying to overcome or trying to go after, and then how you did it.
Well, one of the things we were talking about was how the role of the marketer is evolving, and a lot of us work on a lot of branding and developing brand positionings and brand promises, but we tend to be very focused externally with the customer. And obviously there's a very important role in terms of bringing that down into your organization with your employees. And so historically in my past and all my retail experience at Taco Bell, Victoria's Secret, lastly Petco, marketing was actually never involved in any of the planning of the events. We had always an annual store manager meeting at all of those places, and it was always put on by HR or the training team or something like that. And I felt there was a huge opportunity for marketing to get much more involved in bringing that brand to life down into our employee base, and especially with our store managers who talk to customers all the time. So this past year, we wanted to get much more involved and really be able to demonstrate to our store managers what Petco's brand promise and the role was of what they were doing and being able to connect to it themselves. And so we had just launched actually about a year ago a new brand position. And you can see it up here on the screen. It was all about nurturing powerful relationships between pets and people for better lives together. We wanted to go from being a very transactional related company to one that was much more focused on relationships. But how do you do that after almost 50 years of being very transaction focused? We had to really bring it to life and dimension it for our employees. So one of the things that we did to kind of message that change both internally and externally was to create a tagline, which was all about the power of together. If you guys can maybe change the slide there. And this was all about not just the power that you can have with your pet as a pet parent, but also encouraging Petco and its store partners and its employees to also come together, that there is, power in the human spirit, not just with that bond that you have with your pet. So this was something that we wanted to try and find a way to really elevate. And we actually used this tagline as inspiration for our summit title. And if you go to the next slide, working with Go West, we actually decided to call this Show Your Co. And it's all about showing the power of together. How do you show up in the store? How do you show up at work? How do you show up with your customers and show your co, your power of together? Because actually co meant together, or does mean together in Latin. So it was something that was in our name, and we wanted to bring it to life and make it something really fun. And interestingly enough, our employees really grabbed onto this idea. They love this idea of Show Your Co. It was a real call to action. So again, one of the things historically, our meetings had been fairly dry and not a lot of impact. We wanted to make the Petco brand much more iconic and aspirational. And so working with Go West, we were able to create a stage set that was much more, I think, aspirational, elevated, had a much higher quality production element, which again, in the past, I'm not sure people really expected or were even thinking about, right? We're here to learn, and the brand was not as much a part of the experience. The other thing that the idea that they brought to us, which we thought was great, was we worked with Steve Connell, who is here, to create some custom poems for us, and then Go West added custom music, custom staging to create a really unique experience that brought the brand promise to life in a really visceral, emotional way that, again, I don't think they had ever seen before. So if you will allow me, we just kind of took a couple snippets out of a couple of the videos to show you a flavor of how you can bring the power of together to life and dimension it in a way that was kind of unique and fun. So we'll show you that.
There's something sacred all people with pets know. There is a power that bonds people to pets. So just like you take your wife to the spa or your kids for ice cream, you take your pet to Petco because they get what so often gets missed. Amidst the barking and the squawking and the slithering and the purrs, love occurs. See, they know that the companion that best fits your style is much more than a mammal or a reptile. It is the perfect complement to your smile, and as soon as you find them, love begins. Whether they've got claws or scales, paws or tails, whether they've got fur or fins or feathers, your whole world gets better the second you connect. There is a power that bonds people to pets. It leaps into your arms, crawls into your pocket, perches atop your shoulder, stands up on two legs, and begs home. I want to go home. Let's go. This isn't about what Petco is. This is about why there is Petco. This is a place where people who cherish their pets go, because this place understands what people with pets know. From the second you commit, your whole life gets so much better. It happens just that quick. One lick, one stretch, one bark, one game of fetch at a park, one cuddle, one leap, one perfect night's sleep, one heart made whole, one home now complete, thanks to the family member with scales or feathers, our treasure with 4 feet, our comrade, our co-star, whether they are cool or affectionate. When a connection gets made, it lasts forever. This power together that holds us together, that bonds us together, this bond that connects us cannot be severed. When one becomes the both of us, when two becomes together, when that happens, the world gets better. That is what happens next. That is what Petco gets. The power that bonds people to pets bonds them forever. And that is the power of together.
Very cool. Stevie.
Steve, you gotta raise your hand. Steve is in the house.
In the house.
So just a couple of other things, again, just more to share ideas of ways to bring your brand to life in a more experiential way. Another thing that we did was at one of our fun nights, and I was inspired by something that we had done here at the CMO Club, was where I got the idea. It's called My Word, and it's something that Go West does, and it allows you to write on yourself, to write on your coworkers, and take pictures. And they were pictures then that you got to take home with you. And you'll see that people just really get to express themselves. It's such an emotional connection. You have a lot of fun. And again, it really brings the brand to life in just a fun, unique way. So those are just some of the examples. And then lastly, you know, at the end of this, and we were together for about 4 days, you know, you really want people to leave with, okay, so now what? What's my role? What's expected of me? And we wanted to make sure that we closed with putting it back into the store manager's sort of accountability. What are you going to do when you get back to your stores? And how do you feel personally responsible and have pride in what your role is going to be in delivering that brand promise? So again, just going to show you a couple minutes of Steve's close. And I have to say that at the end of this, there were literally, not only did Steve get a standing ovation, but people were crying in the audience and came up and gave him hugs randomly throughout the rest of the day.
Nice.
Because they were just so inspired by this takeaway, and people just saying it was the best meeting that they'd been to in like 15 years. So we'll close with that quick piece.
See, there's power in a name, and that's true whether you're naming a person, a pet, or a business. So if you're in a business of helping people love their pet, then you need a name that shows you respect the relationship between people and pets, between pet parents and pet stores. See, the better our relationships, the better our lives. Everything is about relationships, and all of it starts with a name. Is that you? Well, then the hard part is over. You are the best. So to be the place where people who want the best for their pets go, you have to let the owners of pets know there's a difference between a pet store and a Petco, and the difference is the co. See, and once people feel it, they'll know it. But that only happens if from the second you get back to your store, you show it. Co is a culture. It doesn't happen by chance. You have to grow it. You have to co-create it with your partners. And when it happens, you will know it. Wherever you look, anywhere in the store, you'll see it because they'll show it proudly. Petco can't be Petco without you, without us, without me making the world better. Want the best for your pet. That isn't always an easy choice. Then I'll sit him down, help him figure it out. And in that moment, he sees my co, and he knows that this is the only store to which he will ever go, where one level of leadership says to another, this is not my Petco, this is our Petco, hoping you will stand up, say, let's go, rush back to your store in North Hollywood, California, or Holland, Michigan, say the exact same thing to your next level of leaders. This is not my Petco, this is our Petco. And soon, like a mirror, looking into a mirror all over the world, one conference becomes 2 stores, becoming 8, becoming 61 stores, becoming 1,300 more, till everyone understands what I'm telling you now. It's up to you.
Very cool. Good stuff. Excellent stuff. Very cool.
And if I can just jump in here,
Yeah.
one of the things that's really exciting is when we create these pieces with Steve, and we create this spoken cinema, right, where with the media and the original scores, but we also do these studio versions. So the first piece you saw was actually a studio version that we created that got pushed out on social media. So what happens a lot of times is people go to these conferences, they see Steve, they see the opening, and they immediately say, I want to see that again. How do we get that? So we've had the good fortune to do about 25 pieces in the last year together for different brands. And so now there's always that other piece. We just did a piece yesterday in Philadelphia for ADP. And as soon as that live piece was performed, they immediately pushed the studio piece out so that other people could then share it with their people back in their parts of the world. Sorry.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
So again, Steve Connell, he's amazing spoken word poet. So you guys maybe saw Steve was with us last year. He opened the CMO Club last year and did a custom piece. But yeah, it's actually it's a beautiful process. We go through a discovery process.
Well, I was going to say, we get together and they kind of interviewed us, the senior team. There were about 3 of us that were sort of co-owning the content and saying, well, what are your objectives? What are you trying to get across? What are the key messages? And we just gave them a data dump and sent a bunch of things and said, this is what's important to us. And then they worked their magic to make it come to life. So.
Very cool. Excellent.
Yeah, so I say Steve goes up onto his mountain, and then he comes down with something amazing. So, sorry.
The tablets are delicious.
So James, tell us a little bit about what you did at Sonic.
Sure. Well, first of all, Steve opened up the Sonic convention in San Diego 2 years ago and absolutely brought the house down, just so all you guys know, just like what you just saw here for Petco. So if you want to have a convention, I didn't even know this was going to be a commercial for Steve, but if
Steve, do you have management?
really want to,
Okay, go.
yeah. Honestly, he did
Good, your
an
memberships do.
amazing job at our event. So, anyway, at Sonic, one of the things I've learned at Sonic, I've been at Sonic for 3 years, is that it's easy to underestimate in meetings like this when you want to tell your brand story. It's easy to underestimate how powerful a meeting like that can be, and I think I've learned that at Sonic by working with David and his production team and great talents like Steve, because the way we've been able to engage people at Sonic, especially our key constituents, we're a highly franchised business, is a totally different level than anything I've ever experienced, and I've been in this industry for over 20 years. So just to give you a couple of examples of how we did that, theme of our convention this year in New Orleans was Accelerate, which was about accelerating our business momentum. We created a stage design that kind of looks like acceleration momentum coming from the kind of center of the stage. We started, the opening act was a musical piece that started very small with one solo performer, and she was doing a great piece that on its own would have been fantastic, but then the whole piece started building. These drummers came out. David's going to keep advancing. All of a sudden, we had step dancers, and then we had professional roller skaters dressed as Sonic car hops, and they did this incredible musical production that was so entertaining with a live band supporting it and singers, and it absolutely took the excitement level at the beginning of our meeting just off the charts, and it got everyone in an absolute fury just about. We're so excited. There's me.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Pete. So I was presenting our integrated digital platforms, which obviously I was presenting on an oversized mobile device here. Actually, David built this thing. His team built this thing. It's a 70-inch TV screen with a frame around it. And what we realized during rehearsals was you could actually press the LCD screen, and those things have little indentations when you press them. It's not great for the screen, but it made a great demo because it looked like a giant phone.
If you broke it, you bought it. So
I
it's
did
all
end up
good.
buying that screen, but we were demoing our app, and so I was showing people. And this was there were about 3,000 people here, so we had to have these oversized pieces. This is an oversized Sonic menu board with our new interactive digital touchscreen we're putting in across the country, and I was showing how that works.
Oops.
And that strategy is called integrated customer engagement, which is all of our digital platforms integrated and CRM driven and all that good stuff. But anyway, then we also produced a video. David's team produced a video that that we briefed them on. There's a few slides for that video. And basically what we wanted to do was kind of a day in the life of a Sonic customer and how all of our different platforms are totally integrated across messaging and interfaces that are relevant for our customers. So it was about a 5-minute piece, which I won't bother showing you because it would be way too long. But basically we just show customers integrating with our new mobile pay, our interactive digital touchscreen at the stall. And it really, is there more of that?
That's it.
And so it really did a great job of not only showing, we kind of demoed all the stuff on stage, and I talked about the value to their business and the way it could drive their sales and profits, but then we really showed it kind of in the life of a customer. It was a really well-produced piece that David's team shot with about 4 days' notice on a very good budget, so it turned out really great.
Thanks.
So quick question. So how do you keep that alive? So what have you done, the event, post-event? What are some of the things
So
to keep
what
that
we
alive?
do, we have a really structured process for now to taking all this content that we created for this big meeting and deploying it out to our system. So we have structured communications where we push a link to the video out. Also, in all of our fall co-op meetings with our franchisees, the content that we developed will be shown to every single one of our franchisees who didn't come to those meetings. I still have, actually, I'm receiving the giant phone back in the office in Oklahoma City in a week or two because we're going to start using that to demo what we're doing in mobile to other groups. And so we made this big investment and we want to capitalize on it.
It's interesting, and just in going to a bunch of dinners around the U.S., there's a number of, I know Susan Litton-Smith at Quiznos, you go around, I've talked about with franchise models, the difficulty in getting people engaged. So it sounds like just a pretty interesting way to actually, by investing in this, to be able to do that versus...
Definitely, and the level of investment that we make at Sonic, I have to tell you guys, is at a different level than I'm used to, and I've worked for other big companies in the past, and I don't think we appreciated at the time in some of my other experiences how much more impactful you can be if you do take that extra step. It's not to be flashy, it's not to be cool, or it's not to do anything like that. It actually really, really winds people up and gets them really excited.
Cool. David, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I was just going to jump in really quick, and we're very fortunate, blessed to be able to partner with some great brands that trust us in our partnership and let us play around. And I think a lot of times people see our stuff and think, oh, really big, really expensive, and some of the stuff is really big, really expensive. But we have another client. I just want to throw some stuff out that really never has any money, really. They have a very small, very small budgets. And I just want to show you, it was actually, the work we do with Petco and with Sonic is really great and very rewarding. This stuff is actually very silly and stuff. They're like, I can't believe I did this. So there's a brand called Sexy Hair. Some ladies in the house maybe know Sexy Hair, like big sexy hairspray. These guys. Well, for the last year, they have a 2-year deal with the estate of Marilyn Monroe, and they're using Marilyn Monroe's likeness as their marketing with their tagline that styles change, sexy is forever. So they came to me about 5 weeks ago, and said, hey, you know what? Coming up is a big special anniversary for Marilyn that on September 15th, 1954, at the corner of Lexington and 52nd, is where this photograph was shot while she was filming the 7-Year Itch. And what do you think, what's something we could do that day to commemorate that? And initially they were thinking about Marilyn lookalikes, and it's like, well, that doesn't really so much go with their brand because they're all about every day, everybody's sexy every day. So this was actually a very simple campaign that we did. My children are so proud of me. We designed this. It's a 2-foot stage that looked like a subway grate, actually had a subway grate underneath it, and had a high-powered fan. And from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., we blew model skirts up all day. And then any passersby, as you can see, there's a lot of stoppers. But anybody that passed by that wanted to partake in this, they could sign a liability thing, and they could go into the trailer, change. We had to give them the correct panties. I had a huge bag of panties I had to buy in all sizes.
TMI, David.
The estate of Marilyn Monroe insisted that we had a certain panty. Marilyn Monroe wore 2 pairs of underwear the day of her shoot. Anyway, so we did this, and it was a great social media platform. My favorite thing is we were standing there. You can see the corner of 53rd up there. There was an ambulance that came screaming around the corner, made a left, pulled up, shut off its siren, so the driver could look at the backside of the model for a moment, and then flipped his siren back on and took off. So hoping there wasn't somebody with having a heart attack in the back. But this is a very small, very simple project that we put together in about 10 days. Actually, I put it together while I was at your event backstage, right? And we got incredible press. It got pushed out all over the place. So Sexy Hair is a fun little client that we play with. We also did a series of web commercials, and if I may, 30 seconds, I just want to show you one of these that we pushed out a whole series of these. They had a new line called Smooth. So we went the tactic of smooth, people being smooth, like cheesy pickup lines, like being so smooth. So this is one of the viral pieces that we pushed out.
Well, that was liberating. I was wrapped up so tight for so long, and you unleashed me. I don't think I can ever go back. It's just too good. I don't know how you do what you do, but damn, you're smooth.
Anyway, so yeah, we don't get a chance to do that a lot with our clients. So there you go.
So, question, does anyone first have a question for the group, or does anyone else have a story of something they've done with their brand, or they've heard someone do that's kind of taken a different look like this? Or a question? Anybody? Bueller? All right, oh, excuse me. Sorry, Governor.
Clearly you must have done these types of events, or at least, like you said, the dry HR version. What, if anything, did you do as far as measuring any kind of impact metrics and that kind of thing after you went down this other path, other than people being super excited?
What? Go ahead.
We run a quantitative survey at the end of after every convention, because it's a big investment. There are thousands of people, and we can just see. We even do a score for every single speaker, so I know my score. I mean, it's crazy, but it actually does help us to actually learn exactly the kinds of things you're learning. And these events we've been doing with Go West, the quality of the production, the music, and everything, just it gets people super engaged.
Same thing, surveys, and obviously you hope the next month or two your sales are up in stores, which we've historically seen actually after our summit meetings.
You know, it's interesting with specifically with Petco and Sonic. It's a little bit different, because what's happening is that people that come to these conferences actually have to leave the store, right? The store leadership is leaving for 3 or 4 days. So you might see, that might be a challenge, because your top people aren't there running the house. When we've done work with, say, like WellPoint was a large client of ours for many years, where these independent business owners that are selling Blue Cross of California or whatever the insurance is, they would come to these conferences. They would mark, and they would see a huge spike in sales the 30, 45 days post-conference, because you do the right job of getting people motivated and appreciated. For me, it's a alternative form of marketing, right? When that whole thing went down with AIG, I was so frustrated about the $400,000 spend that made all the news. I'm thinking it was only $400,000. If they would have spent $4 million on a new ad campaign, nobody would have said a thing. But you're treating your top people, making them feel special. They're just going to go out and sell more product, which gets you more value for your stakeholders. It's just short-sighted when it hit the media. So
Now, whenever we're involved in external events, we're always pushing, we want to amplify through social, tweets, and all that stuff. But did you find internally, when you're, getting the troops pumped up, did you encourage that or not, or how, for the employees and people in the audience during the events?
Well, we definitely partnered to have a lot more digital engagement during the conference. They created an app, as we have here at the CMO Summit this time, which we'd never had something like that before. One of our vendors actually, which was great in one of their sessions, even had people send in photos of themselves with their pets, sort of showing that bond. And then when they were up on stage giving sort of their 10-minute, feature-focused presentation, they showed all the pictures that the store managers had sent in. So they were able to, leverage social media to actually repost stuff. And so I would say, Petco is still kind of on the early journey, I would say, of fully embracing that as a tool, and especially mobile. But I think giving them more tools and opportunities to engage in it and make it more accessible and easy
But I
has
was
started.
thinking more, but
yeah.
I was thinking more, is it strategically important to say, hey, I'm Sally, I work at the Petco here, and I'm at this amazing event for my team.
You know,
that the world
I'm going to say, so in 2009, what I saw, obviously when everything blew up in 2009, companies that still had money, that still wanted to pay for conferences, it was for them, it was all about perception. They didn't want to look like they were spending money, so there was a hold on don't push out anything on social media, don't tell anybody that we had Blake Shelton perform, don't do anything like that. But I've seen a huge loosening of that in the last couple of years, where now it's encouraged, because you really can't stop people now from Instagramming and tweeting what's going on. So people kind of embrace that now and push it out, so they give out the hashtags and things like that, and kind of just jump on the board and try to capitalize it themselves.
They do share and send messages to their store teams during it, like, oh my gosh, look, we have new uniforms, and we had this, I videotaped this amazing performance, so they were sending them stuff all the time from that standpoint.
So we have time for like one closing amazing insight from each of you. Any lesson learned?
Megan says there's a question over there.
Sorry, we have a question over
Oh.
here. Sorry, I have a question for James. Do you leverage the two gentlemen who are in your commercials?
That's a great question. At these events, we film one opening to the event with Pete and TJ. They always open our convention, but actually we talk about that a lot. The long story short is we tend to think of them as their characters. They're fans of the brand. They're not spokespeople for the brand. So we don't do it very often, and we only really do it once a year at this convention.
Very good. Any other questions?
Here's one.
So I was going to say one thing, Pete. You're saying.
Can you put it in the form of a question?
Yes, I can. Just something the kids said earlier, the YouTube kids, those crazy kids that were up here earlier. I don't think they use the word authenticity, but to me that was kind of the main thing that I absolutely agree with, is whatever a brand decides to do, it's got to be authentic to who they are, whether the experience, how they're communicating, it's got to feel natural and authentic to who they are and who their consumers are.
Right. So final thoughts. Is there any lesson learned or anything you want to leave the group with?
Yeah, I mean, my lesson learned is it's easy to underestimate how valuable these things can be. The more time and effort you put into it, you will get a great payoff from it.
And I would just say bringing the brand promise to life within your organization is critical, and finding a way to do it in a way that's emotionally engaging and something you do remember and take away with and that resonates is really important. I just think we underestimated how to create that connection, and so that was powerful for us.
It's been so interesting to watch in the last few years, just again back to dinners, the shift. I remember HP did it a few years ago, and maybe that's a bad example, but taking that mindset of trading commercials and then getting the consumer to get the employees, and it's kind of an interesting shift. Yep.
Don't leave me hanging with the microphone. So you were talking about an employee event, which is so important. Do you also do consumer events? And if you do, how do you integrate that into your overall marketing strategy?
Well, we do a lot of store events. Everything from adoptions every week to meetups with, maybe it's a pug meetup or people who have certain breeds. They love to get together and share war stories, I guess. Or you might have an expert there. We give a lot of training workshops and seminars. And so I think it's more in the language of the store partners, talking about building relationships and what do they need, and finding out more about your pet, your lifestyle, what are the challenges you're having. We had to get them out of the mindset that you're not selling, you're helping. You're actually aiding someone be a better pet parent. And when you're a better pet parent, you feel better about yourself, and your bond with your pet actually grows when you feel like you're being a good parent. It's just like with your kids, right? You want to feel like you're doing the right thing. So a lot of it is just that you're going to have these people coming into your stores, and it's an opportunity to engage with them with a different lens. And I think when they understood, well, we're trying to create relationships, and how do you do that with someone? And it's all about being empathetic and caring and listening and all of those things. These events give them an opportunity almost to practice that and experience it. So I think it was less about, materials or things we handed out or did or whatever. It's just that as you bring your community to your stores to do things, how are you showing up differently in that engagement?
And in a retail business like Sonic, the way we do this is by executing our brand with our customers. So we don't have events, but you experience the brand by pressing the red button, ordering your food, and having it brought to you by a friendly skating car hop. And that's the essence of the Sonic brand, experience for a customer.
Good. David, any final?
No, yeah, I just want to say, Pete, thank you, because it was at this conference last year that I met Elisabeth, and through that we had the opportunity to work with Petco. So
Good stuff.
power
Guys,
of-
thank
power
you
of the
very
cloud.
much.
Thanks.
Round of applause. Thank you very much, guys.